Hello, Keller class. It's English today, and it's the Wednesday, the 3rd of March today. Okay, so yesterday we read a little bit more about the story of the dragon machine, and I asked you to carry on the story. Do you remember the dragon machine had just crashed into the wilderness? And so you're going to carry on. You were going to carry on the next bit of the story, and I read some really good stories. Okay, so today we're going to read what happened next and to the end of the story. So what I'm going to do before I do that is I'm going to read it all right the way through from the beginning to the end, because after I've read it, I'm going to ask you to write a diary pretending that you were George. So you really need to listen to all of it again. Okay, the dragon machine. George noticed his first dragon on a wet Thursday. The more he looked, the more dragons he saw. Unseen, ignored, and overlooked, the dragons went unnoticed, just like little George. Dragons perched on the telephone wires. They sat amongst the dustbins. They chased butterflies through the tulips. They played havoc with the cat. They sank the water lilies in the pond. George fed them delicious stale biscuits and smelly cheese. My light is just maybe a bit better for you to see the pictures. And then the trouble began. The dragons followed George everywhere. George spent more and more of his time clearing up muddy footprints, tidying untidiness, and saying sorry for breaking things he'd not broken. George's dragons were becoming too troublesome to stay unnoticed for much longer. Something had to be done. George went in search of some advice. Oh, I don't know whether that's better. It's a bit of shadows on, isn't it? I'll do my best. It's shiny paper. Oops. So he went for some advice. He went to the library, didn't he? The dragons followed George to the library. He consulted the Encyclopedia of Dragons. There were dire warnings. Never feed a dragon. Never let a dragon into your home. Too late. There were tragic tales of dragons discovered and captured. Too sad. And there was a map of the place where dragons belonged. A great wilderness, unnoticed and overlooked and safe. But George would have to show them the way. George drew plans for a machine. The machine had a beginning and a middle and a tail end. An undercarriage and beautiful wings. George hammered in the last nail. He packed delicious stale biscuits and smelly cheese and himself into the dragon machine. The machine lumbered, engine ticking gently into the night sky. Can you remember who followed? The dragons followed. Can you remember where George was sitting? That's right, right in the eye of the dragon. The machine clicked and whirred over the sleeping town. It rattled and clunked over the moonlit fields and woods. The dragons followed. It clattered and banged and crashed into the great wilderness. The dragons followed. George was so tired he went to sleep in the wreckage of his dragon machine. And that's where we got up to yesterday. By morning, all the dragons were gone. There was an emptiness all around and inside George. And an emptiness at home where George should have been. They searched the town, they searched the fields, they ventured into the great wilderness looking for George and found him among the broken pieces of his dragon machine. George and the dragons went home. Everyone was pleased to see George, and George was pleased to be back. He was no longer unseen, ignored, and overlooked. They made him a huge cake to celebrate his return and gave him a dog as a present. I like this cake because even on the cake, the ribbon is a dragon. And look at the dog. They gave him a dog. What do you notice about the dog? They gave him a dog as a present, and nobody else noticed it wasn't a dog. The end. A lovely story. Okay, now, like I said at the beginning, you're going to pretend or imagine that you are George. Okay, so you're going to write the diary. So let's go to Purple Mash and I'll show you the diary. Let me just find it. That was yesterday's work. Let's go to today's work, which is, look at all these tasks we've been doing, Keller class. We've done hundreds. It is Wednesday. Here we go. Keller class English, Wednesday the 3rd of March. Imagine you are George and you've just got home from your amazing adventure in Dragonland. Write about your adventure in your diary. Let's have a look at the diary. Okay. A diary is a great place to keep memories. Try writing the events of the day in your diary. So you're going to be writing about the adventure from pretending you're George. And here are things to think about. So the beginning, a diary is a great way to keep track of your life. What do you remember about the things that you've seen and done? Do you remember what's happened? Think about how it made George feel and what sort of thoughts might have crossed his mind. Write about the things he's seen and the sounds and the smells around him. Who was he with? We know he was with dragons, don't we? What was the weather like? Was it cold? Was it hot? How did it make you feel? Okay, so we write my diary, and this is a space for a picture, so you can add a picture from the clipboard here. Okay, you might be able to go and actually search here. Let's search, should we search dragons or will it let us? No, it might be animals. Might have to go to something like dinosaurs or fairy tales. There'll probably be a dragon in a fairy tale. Ah, there we go. There's a dragon, but I bet you can find even better ones than that. Okay, so we're going to say bye. George. Okay, so that's your front page. Then you click this purple arrow and you go to the next bit. So there's a space for a picture and you're going to do your writing here. So what a day. What a day. You can change the size of the font there if you want. What a day I've had. You'll never guess. I've had and what an adventure! Exclamation mark. Let me just see if I can make that font a little bit bigger. So go there, and we have it font size. So we're going to go probably about there, or maybe 4. 4 is big enough. Don't go any bigger because you won't have enough space to write. So you're going to carry on writing about the adventure and put a picture, and then you've got, if you press the purple arrow again, it will give you the next bit, I hope. Get rid of that, maybe, yeah. So that's the first page, that's the second page. I think you have to finish that, and then it will let you go to a third page. Okay, so I'm expecting 3 pages, so a first page, a second and a third page of your diary. And don't forget to use these things here to help you. What a day I've had, and what an adventure. I don't think you'll believe me when I tell you I've seen hundreds of dragons. It all started when did it all start? Do you remember from the book? It all started when I looked out of my window and noticed dragons were everywhere. Right, okay, that's the beginning, okay, but I've got a lot more to write about in my diary than just that beginning. Okay, have fun writing. I'm looking forward to seeing yours, and I will hopefully be giving you loads and loads of dojo points. See you later.